Have you ever found yourself thinking this way? Why am I always alone? Or perhaps you've felt a strange emptiness and loneliness, even when surrounded by people. Sometimes it's not the absence of others that makes us lonely, but oddly enough, we feel more isolated when we're actually with people. So where does true loneliness really come from? Today, I want to have a deep conversation with you about how loneliness doesn't begin from being alone, but from being with the wrong people. I hope this message brings some comfort and insight to your heart. Loneliness isn't simply about being by yourself. Sometimes, even when we're surrounded by countless people, we feel a deeper sense of isolation when our hearts don't connect or when we feel misunderstood. This kind of loneliness creates a sense of isolation, as if we're standing alone in the middle of a desert, and it can be utterly exhausting. So why do we feel more lonely when we're with the wrong people? There are several reasons for this. First, when we can't show our authentic selves. Everyone wants to reveal their vulnerabilities and honest emotions. But when the person beside us doesn't accept us as we are, criticizes us, or doesn't try to understand us, we end up wearing a mask in their presence. Pretending to be someone else drains enormous energy, and eventually, our true self feels like it's left completely alone. Second, when there's a lack of emotional connection. Humans are social creatures who find stability and satisfaction through deep emotional exchanges with others. But no matter how much we talk and spend time with someone, if those conversations remain superficial or lack emotional resonance, we struggle to feel a genuine connection. In such moments, we feel like we're talking to a wall, and we suffer from profound loneliness. Third, when someone tries to use us or has a negative impact on our lives. Some relationships have an imbalanced give and take dynamic. When one person gives constantly while the other shows no respect and acts only for their own benefit, we get hurt and drained within that relationship. Such relationships actually bring us greater loneliness and pain than being alone would. It feels like being stuck in quicksand. No matter how hard we try, we just sink deeper. Have you ever experienced something like this? You opened your heart to someone who seemed genuinely good, but at some point, you were left with only wounds and distance. Too much distance makes us lonely, but getting too close hurts us. It's in this suffocating cycle of relationships that we often experience true loneliness. There's something called the porcupine dilemma. In the cold winter, porcupines try to huddle together for warmth, but their quills end up hurting each other. Too close and it hurts, too far and they freeze. Human relationships are the same. The closer we get, the more we hurt each other. And when we keep our distance, we become lonely. So how can we find the right distance in our relationships? Schopenhauer left us 3 crucial warnings that we must remember. In human relationships, just knowing these warnings can help us escape unnecessary disappointment and pain. What exactly did he tell us? First, don't trust people too easily. Trust should be given carefully. There are 2 types of people in this world: those who use others and those who get used. This warning comes from the German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. People often think that trust is necessary for maintaining relationships. But Schopenhauer said the opposite: if you trust people too much, you will inevitably be betrayed. At first, this might sound cynical, but you've probably experienced this at least once in your life. The memory of someone you trusted and opened your heart to suddenly turning their back on you. Someone close to you, whom you thought would be an exception, hurt you at an unexpected moment. Initially, anger and betrayal wash over you, but as time passes, you realize, was I too naive? That's when Schopenhauer's words come back to you. Human nature is selfish, and trust shouldn't be given easily. Schopenhauer emphasized that we should lower our expectations. In human relationships, while trust is important, unconditional trust is foolish. One day, Schopenhauer was drinking coffee in a German cafe when he overheard a man at the next table complaining angrily to his friend. The friend I trusted so much was bad-mouthing me behind my back. After everything I did to help him, how could he do that to me? Hearing this, Schopenhauer chuckled softly and said quietly, "That's bound to happen. You overestimated human nature. The man looked at Schopenhauer incredulously and protested. But surely you should trust your friends? Schopenhauer set down his coffee cup and replied, that's like trusting a cat to guard your fish. Human nature is inherently selfish. Trust shouldn't be given lightly. Did this man understand what Schopenhauer meant? Probably not. Most people think, I'll be the exception. But reality is harsh. Betrayal doesn't come from distant acquaintances. It comes from those closest to us. Throughout our lives, we form countless relationships: family, friends, colleagues, neighbors. But betrayal often begins in the most unexpected places right next to us. There was a coworker who seemed friendly, always smiling and chatting. You'd have lunch together and support each other through tough times. But when promotion season arrived, their attitude subtly shifted. Suddenly, they'd exaggerate your mistakes and start gossiping behind your back. The person who said, I'm not interested in promotions, I hope you get it, was the same one who would stab you in the back when it really mattered. In that moment, you realize, we weren't really friends. I thought we were, but they saw me as competition. Have you ever lent money to someone? At first, they approach you with desperate eyes. I'm really in a bind. Can't you help me just this once? I swear I'll pay you back no matter what. Trust me. But as time passes, their attitude changes. This month is tough. I'll definitely pay you back next month. Then, I don't have the money to pay you back right now. Please understand my situation. And finally, aren't you being a bit harsh about money? The person who clasped their hands together in gratitude. When borrowing suddenly becomes dismissive when it's time to repay. Eventually, contact stops altogether, and when you reach out first, they say, I've been so busy lately. Please understand my situation. They make you feel like you're the one causing trouble. There's a saying that captures this perfectly: when borrowing money, they bow down to you. But when you go to collect, you bow down to them. Schopenhauer understood human nature's selfishness well. He said, when you lend money, be prepared never to see it again. In truth, the moment you lend money, you've already lost half of it. What's worse is that the process of trying to get it back often destroys the relationship too. Someone who was once close starts avoiding you, and eventually turns their back completely. The person who was your friend when they borrowed money becomes worse than a stranger after money changes hands. Perhaps the only way to preserve relationships is to never create situations where money becomes an issue in the first place. Whether family or friends, even those you've known for a long time, aren't guaranteed to be on your side forever. In fact, those closest to you often change most easily. People often say that those who stand by you during hard times are true friends. While it's certainly nice when someone lends a helping hand during difficulties, the real test lies elsewhere. The true test reveals itself when you start doing well, whether that person is genuinely on your side. When you have no money, everyone gathers around for drinks and offers comfort. It's okay. Hang in there. Money isn't everything. What matters is the heart. But when life starts going well for you, their attitudes begin to shift subtly. At first, they pretend to celebrate. Wow, amazing. That's really great. But behind your back, they say something different. Lucky them. Acting like they did something special. Looks like they're making some money these days. They should treat us sometime. And when you don't treat them, their attitude completely changes. Really? You can't even do that much? You've really changed. You weren't like this before. Then, at some point, they naturally drift away. The people who stood by you when you were struggling are the first to turn their backs when you succeed. Schopenhauer summarized this in one sentence: a friend who stays by your side when you're succeeding is a truer friend than one who's there when you need help. He's absolutely right. It's easy to comfort someone's misfortune, but it's difficult to genuinely celebrate someone's success. Not being jealous, not trying to take advantage, staying by their side unchanged. That's what real relationships are about. In the end, trusting people too easily only hurts you. So what should we do? First, rather than unconditional trust, Schopenhauer said, don't believe what people say. Believe what they do. People can change their words, but actions don't lie. Some people say all the right things, but show completely different behavior in their actions. I'll never turn my back on you. We'll be together until the end. How many people say such words, make you feel secure, then disappear one day by turning their backs? This doesn't mean you should never trust anyone from the start. Trust should be given after it's been verified. If you believe, this person will never betray me, before even knowing what kind of person they are, you're the one who ends up hurt. Relationships are proven by actions, not words. If someone has turned their back once, you need to watch their actions for a long time before trusting them again. In most cases, someone who turned their back once will eventually do it again. Second, trying to be a good person often results in becoming a pushover. Schopenhauer said, "There are moments when kindness transforms into entitlement." Someone who was initially grateful starts taking your help for granted at some point. "Can you help me out again this time? You're good at this. You did it last time, so you can do it again, right? Hey, if you don't help, we'll all be in trouble." Have you heard words like these? What started as kindness has become their right. What's even worse is that when you refuse, you become the bad person. Wow, is this who you really are? Are you really this selfish? I'm so disappointed. And then people leave. The truth is, such people were never really your people to begin with. They only stuck around because you were giving, and they were always ready to leave once they couldn't use you anymore. So is being a good person the problem? No, the problem is not setting boundaries. You can give and be generous, but you need to draw clear lines about when and how much you'll do. I can help you up to this point, but beyond that is difficult for me. Is it really that hard to say this one sentence? But good people can't say these words. They worry that the other person will be disappointed or think poorly of them. But remember this: if someone truly cares about you, they won't burden you. They won't make unreasonable demands and will respect your boundaries. If they weren't that kind of person, then that relationship was unnecessary from the beginning. Ultimately, maintaining appropriate distance in relationships is absolutely necessary. Schopenhauer compared human relationships to the porcupine dilemma. We want to share warmth with each other, but getting too close means getting hurt by the quills. Too close and we get hurt; too far and we become lonely. So what's the answer? Maintaining appropriate distance. Don't give your heart to someone easily. Judge people by their actions, not their words. Show kindness but set limits. And above all, don't just be a good person, be a wise person. People don't change easily, but we can change how we approach people. That one step will be the first step toward building relationships that don't hurt. Next, the second principle of human relationships is, save your words. Don't argue with rude people. Schopenhauer said there's something you must avoid in human relationships: arguing with foolish people. He put it this way: arguing with an idiot is like wrestling with a pig in mud. The pig enjoys it, but you just get dirty. You might scratch your head at this. But I can't just put up with unfair treatment. I didn't say anything wrong, so why should I have to endure it? You're right, it might feel unfair. But what's important isn't winning the argument, it's wisely avoiding it. Because the other person never intended to have a logical conversation in the first place. They just want to win and are trying to corner you emotionally. Will anything change if you get into a shouting match with such a person? The outcome is predictable. Both your faces turn red, feelings get hurt, and resentment lingers. Later, you regret it. I shouldn't have opened my mouth. I should have just let it slide. So how should we avoid such situations? During holidays, family members gather after a long time apart. It's nice to see familiar faces, and conversations could bring you closer together. But one wrong comment can instantly freeze the atmosphere. Don't you think politicians these days are really pathetic? I think that party is right, but you guys think differently, don't you? Once this topic comes up, the atmosphere gradually heats up. What started as an exchange of opinions suddenly turns into an emotional battle. What? You don't know that? You see the world too naively. No, you're being too extreme. Are you sure you know what you're talking about? Once the fire starts, it never goes out. Eventually, the gathering ends with hurt feelings, and next time you want to avoid such occasions. Actually, who's right or wrong in political discussions doesn't matter. Everyone believes different things from the start, so there's never going to be a conclusion. The wise person is the one who says, "Yeah, I see," and moves on. Some people have different purposes for conversation. Instead of exchanging thoughts to understand each other, there are those who just want to win no matter what and nitpick at your words. When you have conversations with such people, what seems like a normal exchange of opinions at first gradually becomes twisted, and you start feeling bad. My point is valuable, but honestly, isn't your thinking a bit shallow? So what makes you so great that you can say such things? The moment you hear these words, alarm bells should go off in your head. Oh, this isn't a conversation, it's a fight. These people don't need logical explanations. They don't want to hear your opinions from the start. They just want to find fault with your words and establish dominance. Here's the common mistake people make in such situations. But I was just expressing my opinion. Why do they keep nitpicking? So they try to make the other person understand and explain things step by step. But this is a trap. They never intended to have a logical debate. They don't want to listen and understand what you're saying. They just want to conclude that you're wrong. Do you know what the most foolish thing to do at this moment is? Saying, "No, that's not what I meant," and desperately trying to explain. At that moment, the other person is probably laughing inside. "Ha, got them. Now I can manipulate them however I want." When these people don't have logic to counter your argument, they blur the point, nitpick your words, or push you emotionally. From then on, the conversation strays from its essence and becomes an emotional battle. But you can never win this fight because it was never about logic in the first place. It's about who can dominate. So the answer is simple: don't give them the reaction they want. "Oh, that could be true. I guess some people might think that way." Flow with it like this and refuse to fight altogether. Then the other person loses interest and stops being persistent. The most perfect victory in any fight is not fighting at all. You should avoid people who can't be persuaded logically, but you should avoid even more those who corner you emotionally. For them, logic doesn't matter from the start. It's not about what's right or wrong. Their goal is to push you to the edge and make you explode emotionally. If you're so smart, then do everything yourself. "I'm struggling so much I could die, and why are you being like this?" If you're so great, lie by yourself. How do you feel when you hear words like these? You instantly feel wronged, angry, and want to fight back. But that exact moment is what they were hoping for, because they never intended to persuade you through conversation. They don't want to listen and understand. They just want to shake you emotionally and break you down. The moment you get excited, the game is over. The moment you respond emotionally, they attack as if they were waiting for it. "See, look, you're angry now, aren't you? So I was right after all. You really are that kind of person. Your true colors are showing. There's only one way to win this fight: don't start fighting." When dealing with such people, never get excited and react. Instead, calmly say this: "Okay, I understand. That might be true. You must have had a hard time. That could be right." When you respond like this, they become confused because the scenario they wanted didn't unfold. I have no intention of fighting, but they're the only one getting emotional. In this situation, they can no longer continue the fight. So am I losing out by enduring? No, it's actually the other person who loses. The bigger the fight gets, the more my emotions get drained, and I waste time on pointless arguments. So remember, fighting emotionally with rude people is like wrestling with a pig in mud. The pig might enjoy it, but you just get dirty. There's only one way to win: avoid the fight altogether. Everyone has probably experienced a situation like this at least once: being unfairly cornered, clashing with someone who won't listen, and raising your voice. Saying, "This isn't right." But looking back, how did it turn out? Did winning that fight really make you feel better? Did the other person realize you were right and apologize? Or were there more times when you just felt worse, drained emotionally, and regretted speaking up unnecessarily? Schopenhauer said, "Arguing with a fool doesn't mean winning the fight. It means becoming their equal." When you really think about these words, you can understand more deeply why avoiding arguments is important. When the other person becomes emotional, no matter how logically I respond, it's useless. They're not thinking about winning. They only want to crush my spirit and shake my emotions. So what should we do? When the other person raises their voice and corners you emotionally, trying to pick a fight, smile calmly and answer like this. That might be true. Yes, you could think of it that way. If you say this, they have nothing more to say because you didn't give them material for a fight. People who deliberately pick fights want their opponent to get excited and join in. Only then can they corner them more and feel like they've won. But when I'm too composed, they lose interest and can no longer sustain the fight. At that moment, the fight naturally ends. Many people misunderstand something. They think that avoiding an argument means losing. But the truth is often the opposite. Avoiding a fight isn't cowardly. It's often a higher form of victory. There's nothing left after winning an argument. The other person rarely accepts it, and usually only feelings get hurt and relationships become more distant. So what's good about avoiding unnecessary fights? At least I can protect my emotions. I don't have to be swayed by irritation and resentment. Ultimately, what we need to protect in arguments isn't the result of winning, but the peace of our minds. Remember this wisdom that Schopenhauer left us: closing your mouth is the most powerful weapon. Opening your mouth won't change the other person, but if I stay silent, I can at least preserve my dignity and composure. Finally, the third principle of human relationships is, don't worry about others' opinions. Live your own life. Schopenhauer understood the fundamental human dilemma. People live constantly aware of others' gazes, but they fail to realize that ultimately, they themselves are responsible for their own lives. He said, "We live under others' gazes, but those gazes don't take responsibility for our lives." In other words, no matter what others say, they won't live your life for you. Yet people still worry so much about how others see them that they often fail to live their own lives properly. Why is this? Is what others think of me really that important? Let's think about how much we're swayed by others' opinions in our daily lives. You have something you want to do. You want to try something new, take a path that others haven't taken. But these thoughts pop into your head. If I do this, won't people think I'm weird? If I fail, what will people say? Won't I just get into trouble by standing out unnecessarily? So you end up not doing it. Even when you have something you want to do, you give up. Even when there's a path you want to take, you can't take it because you're too busy watching others' reactions. But let's be really honest, are others that interested in my life? Whatever I do, others usually make a comment or two and then quickly forget. The problem is that I spend my whole life being swayed by those one or two comments others casually made. During holidays, relatives gather and throw around comments like, "Still not married? Where do you work? When are you going to settle down?" The moment you hear these, your chest feels tight. Not knowing how to respond, you just smile and let it pass. But inside, you keep worrying. Am I really weird? Am I the only one who's this behind? But you know what's really amazing? Even these people who interfere like this don't properly take responsibility when your life falls apart or when you're struggling. Will the relative who scolded you for not being married buy you even one meal when you're having a hard time? Will the people who nagged you about finding a job offer comfort when you're struggling at work? They just thoughtlessly threw out a comment, but I live my whole life being shaken by those words. We often focus on how others will see us. So we buy nice cars, wear nice clothes, and try to live lives that others will envy, thinking others will praise us for it. But the problem is that even when we do this, people quickly lose interest. When you buy a new car, everyone envies you, "Wow, nice car." But after just a week, it becomes, "Oh, you bought a car." After a month, "So what?" In the end, others' approval is just momentary. Living while worrying about others' opinions only fills your life with pain and loneliness. What's truly important is inner satisfaction and happiness. Only when we live the life we want, not the life others want, can we finally escape true loneliness. We need the courage to focus on ourselves, love ourselves, and discover what we truly want. Schopenhauer's 3 warnings ultimately give us wisdom for avoiding unnecessary pain and loneliness in relationships and living a truly satisfying life. Being alone isn't the cause of loneliness. We often feel deeper loneliness within relationships with the wrong people. Now, don't be tied down by relationships that drain and hurt you. You need to have the courage to cut them off. Focus more on relationships with people who respect and love you as you are. You are the master of your own life. Don't live an unhappy life trapped by others' opinions. Your life belongs to you. I hope you build relationships with people who truly make you happy. Thank you.